my dear friends, welcome back to High Point, and this is going to be yet another video in the video series about literary theory and criticism. So as a playlist, I have given literary theory, the whole videos related to literary theory and criticism in the I button. Go and check it, and you view the previous videos or the following videos, whatever you have missed anything, or if you want to know, if you want to listen it to for multiple times, you can go and watch it. I have given it in the I button. So today's topic, as you can see, is Ars Poetica. So we have seen about Aristotle concepts and Longinus concepts. Now we have Horace. Horace's Ars Poetica or Ars Poetica is the major work as far as literature or literary theory is concerned. So let's move on to our major video session. Before that, don't forget to follow me Instagram, because I am sharing lot of free materials, study materials there in the form of study cards, quiz, and many more things. Reels and short videos are there, carousels are there, so you can have and you can save them all if you want, and you can share that things with your friends and all if you want to if you want to do that. So I have not given any restriction to anything. You can follow me there and you can have the free materials. And also, if you want to join a WhatsApp group in which I am sharing news and updates related to NTA UGC net, and also daily quiz question and answer along with the some study materials there, you can go to the description box and click the link and join. If not, you can message me in here in this given number, and I'll be glad to make you join there. So moving on, let's have an introduction about the philosopher Horace. Horace's full name is Quintus Horatius Flaccus. So that's the full name of Horace, and we usually call him as Horace. Horace was born in Venosa in 65 BC and died in Rome in 8 BC. Okay, so that's his lifespan from 65 BC to 8 BC. And he studied philosophy in Athens. So even though he was born in Venosa, after his primary studies in there, he moved to Athens to study philosophy, and he deeply studied Greek philosophy, Greek literature, and many things related to Greek literature. Okay, classical literature and all, he was well versed in it, and he supported republican ideas in his work, even though not a republican officially. So Horace, I have read a story about Horace, that is, when he was there in Athens, he heard about the murder of Julius Caesar, and thereby he returned to Rome in order to join the civil war along with Brutus. So he was a supporter of Brutus, and he was against Julius Caesar in the matter that he will he will assume himself in the throne of Rome one day, and Rome had no kings. Rome was ruled by triumvirs, and such was the way in Rome, how authority was, how ruling was happening. It was not by a king. So he was like that. He supported the republican ideas that Brutus was also doing. So and he had always great respect for Brutus's father Cato, and so we can see a visible kind of support of republican ideas in his work, even though he never announced himself as a republican officially. And there are national needs must be fulfilled by a poet. So he always say that whenever he talks about a poet and the general responsibility of a poet, that he says that there are national needs that need to be fulfilled by a poet, such as giving new lead, new direction, and new vision to the contemporary period by creating a national movement in literature. So that is the great responsibility of poet as far as Horace is concerned, that a poet is a person who is capable enough to give a new lead, new direction, and new vision to the contemporary period when it is struck, and when it needs a kind of revolution, when it needs a kind of enlightenment. And by creating a national movement in literature, a poet could give new lead and new direction and new vision to the contemporary societies. That is the major aim of being a poet, not about always writing pleasing poetry always. So now let's discuss some details related to Ars Poetica. In this work, he has, he is actually discussing many more things. But I don't think all those things are important. While we cannot discuss everything here because, it will actually exceed too many hours and minutes, so I don't want that. See, I'm just giving a brief about Ars Poetica, the major things related to literature only here. So little bit more and some other points and elaborations are there in my website, in which you can go and go and hear the audio lectures and take down the notes. There I have given an elaborate lecture about Ars Poetica by Horace, and not only about it, I have given immense amount of study materials related to English literature, British literature, and world literature, Indian literature, post-colonial literature, or European literature, or any American literature, or English literary theory and criticism, and classical criticism, cultural studies, and also as a bonus I have given research methodology too as a topic to study. Okay, so if you are interested, you can go to the website www.hypon.in and you can see it yourself by having a free trial. And along with the audio lectures, we have provided 300 plus downloadable PDF materials, and also the whole set of previous and practice question papers there too, that they are actually live attemptable. You can know your mark once you submit the question papers. So once you join for the course, if you are interested, you can actually have two bonuses. What are they? First one is weekly test in every Saturdays, and the second one is a personalized study guidelines according to your schedules and your preferences about the topics to study and cover in NTA, UGC, NET, JRF, English language and literature. And if you want to know more, you can obviously message me or WhatsApp me in this given number that you can see on the screen, or if not, you can directly go to the website and you can see yourself, and everything is pretty much clear there. So moving on, the chief aim of poetry is directed towards solving some problems sprung from the contemporary literary conditions. So being a Republican only, or supporter of a Republican ideas, he is talking, he is carrying out, and he is creating notions and concepts related to poetry, literature, poet, and everything related to literature or anything. Okay, so the chief aim of poetry is to to solve some problems that are there in the contemporary literary condition. The aim of poetry is either to be beneficial or to delight. So he is not completely negating the delightful nature of poetry, which is also necessary, or it is not only delight, but there should be some didactic elements too, or in their phrases to combine charm, high applicability to life. So the aim of poetry is either to be beneficial, it need to be useful, need to be directive in its nature. It should direct the people or the readers to do something. It should be beneficial to the readers. At the same time, it should delight. And other than that, what is the other aim of poetry? Or in their phrases, to combine charm, high applicability to life. So these are some of the aims of poetry according to whom Horace, as we can see in Ars Poetica. So poetry should either instruct or please, or both. So it's not that you should please always or you should instruct always. You can at the same time please as well as you can instruct, both in the same work. But whatever you are inventing to please, let not be far from truth. So what does that mean? See, if you are writing a poetry to please means to give pleasure or to give delight to people while they read it, let not that go far away from truth or life, means that it should be realistic in sense. So in the name of pleasing the readers or in the name of giving pleasure, don't invent something that is far-fetched, that is far away from the truth of life. Okay, it should be near to the truth of life. So that is the concept of Horace. Now he regards poetry as a mode of imitation. So he is not disregarding the notions of imitation by Aristotle or Plato. He regards that poetry is also a kind of imitation, but the imitator or the poet should imitate from life and custom in a language faithful to life. So he says that, see, poetry is only a kind of or a mode of imitation only. The imitator or the poet should imitate from life. Okay, they should imitate from life. Even though they are trying to instruct something, they are giving some didactic things in their poetry, or they are trying to delight and please the readers. It's not that they should go far away from life truth and fetch something that is far fetched. Okay, they should imitate from life truth, and they should customize that life truth in such a way that which is faithful to life. That means in the language which are more suitable to convey the truth of life. That means the language which is more away from artificial kind of things. Okay. But Horace also believed that poetry does not say absolute truth. So that is also correct, right? And many critics also proved this idea later. So Horace also believed that, see, poetry is not saying something absolutely true, right? It is not telling something, everything factual. There are a kind of universal facts and truths are there, but it is not absolute truth. There is always a blend of fiction, facts and fantasy together. So in poetry, always, it's not that there will be always facts, absolute truth. If you are presenting absolute truth, there is nothing pleasing about it, because truth is always bitter most of the time, right? Nobody wants to hear truth. And that's how we sometimes go to watch movies. Sometimes we want to have some read something in order to have that kind of a pleasure of of some other world. Okay, so poetry or any other artistic form, we could say that, but Horace is mainly talking about poetry, does not say absolute truth. There is always a blend, a mixing of fiction, facts and fancy. If it's fiction, then it's made to please but must be very near to life. So he says that if this poetry is more fiction than facts or fancy, or if it is more fanciful than facts or truth, you can say that this poetry is made to please or give pleasure to the readers. But at the same time, it should not be far away from life truth. It should be near to life truth while it is giving pleasure to the readers. Now he is telling about the conception of poetry. So after telling the major aim of poetry, the nature of poetry and the imitation that is happening in poetry and all, he now tells about conception of poetry. Horace had a Platonian view about it rather than Aristotelian. So when he discusses about conception of poetry, he rather goes with Plato than Aristotle. He wanted poetry as a vehicle for truth and morals. So Plato always emphasized the aim of poetry as poetry as a vehicle, as a medium to convey moral values in a more convincing manner. So he also wanted poetry to be a great vehicle to carry truth to people and convey truth to the people or moral values. Also, didactic purpose was given more importance even by Horace. He emphasized the didactic value of poetry. So, a poet creates poetry either to improve or to please or to unite the agreeable and the profitable. So, for either of these cases, a poet creates poetry either to improve the society. Okay, either to, that means instructional value of the poetry, that in order to guide or in order to direct or in order to give new visions about something. For that purpose, a poet creates poetry. Another purpose is that to please, to give pleasure. So there the instruction value will be less while the pleasure value will be high. And to unite the agreeable and the profitable. So what is profitable to humankind or the contemporary society, or what is agreeable, what can be put together as together, that is also discussed in poetry. So creates poetry for, for these purposes. So whatever purpose is there in the poet's mind while creating a poetry, whether it is instructional or pleasure giving, or giving some profit or putting together the agreeable things, whatever be the case, it should be near to life and reality. So that is a must that Horace emphasizing wherever he tells about poetry and composition of poetry. Now he discusses about emotional appeal of poetry. So Horace identifies poets with teachers because in the ancient times poets were the one who brought about humanizing and civilizing influence upon people. So he identifies, so he equalizes poets with the teachers, because teachers are the one who gives instructions of various kinds of things about morals, about truths, about many things. Teachers are giving instructions, right? And poets are also like teachers. Why Horace identified poets with the teachers? Because in the ancient times poets were the one who brought about humanizing and civilizing influence upon people. So poets, through their creation of poetry and reciting them to people, while people listened to them, they also brought about, not only they were presenting some stories, some stuffs to them, but actually they were bringing humanizing and civilizing aspects to their life in the ancient times. So that's why Horace identified poets with the teachers, and he insists that it's not enough for poems to have beauty, they must also be pleasing and lead the listener's soul where the soul wishes to be. So he says that, even though instructional value is more important in poetry, while it should be pleasing, but still it's not enough that the arrangements of the words or things that are told in the poetry are beautiful. So the beauty of a poetry is not enough, but it needs to be pleasing while it is sung by someone, or while it is read by someone. The beauty needs to be pleasing, okay? And there is a difference. Everything is not beautiful, that is not, every other beauty is not pleasing, right? So along with being beautiful, a poem should also be pleasing to the readers. So what is the major benefit of being pleasing? It will lead the listener's soul where the soul wishes to be. Okay, so the soul wants to be in an upper level or upper standard, or in an elevated status. So while listening to a pleasing, beautiful poetry or poem, the listener's soul will rise to that position. So a poet should be careful and selective in choice of words. So how you can bring beauty with the pleasing element? You have to be, as a poet, you have to be very careful and selective about the choice of words. You can see that Longinus also gives emphasis upon choice of words. Selection of diction is one of the major things through which you can bring sublime according to, or sublimity in a work according to according to Longinus. So here also Horace emphasized that you should be very careful, you should give utmost importance to the selection of your choices of words and how you are going to use them inside the work. And he also does not approve the use of newly coined words or far-fetched ones. As people of literature, poets are always aware, and they will come across newly coined words, or they will themselves coin words, and they will use far-fetched words in order to bring about some kind of surprise and enthusiasm and eagerness among the readers, whoever is reading it, and get fascinated about the meaning of certain words. And once they know about the meaning of the word, then that will create a kind of strangeness, that will create some kind of interest among the readers. But Horace is not approving the use of newly coined words and far-fetched words, because it will only create sometimes boredom, and many readers, they won't go and seek for the meaning, and they will wrongly get instructed, as they will think that this must be the meaning of this particular new word, or they will get bored, or they'll get less interested, or only confusion will prevail in their mind. So the poem won't serve its major purpose to delight the soul of the reader or carry the soul to another level. So that won't happen because of this a wrong choice of words or use of newly coined words or far-fetched words. Okay, but even then he says that it is the duty of a poet to enrich the vocabulary of the language. Even though he is not approving usage of newly coined words, he says that it is the duty of a poet to enrich the vocabulary of the language. Okay, now moving on, see, as you can see, when we discuss about various things that Horace has said in his Ars Poetica, there is a synthesis, or we can say there is a mixing of the ideas of Plato and Aristotle together in his work. So when he discusses about poetry as an imitation, he identifies with Plato's and Aristotle's idea, and when he gives emphasis to the didactic value of poetry, again he is telling what Plato has already told, and the views value of poetry, morally improving poetry. See, while discussing all these things, he is actually echoing Plato and Aristotle's ideas, even though he is more or less more than Platonic than Aristotelian, but still together their ideas and philosophy are quite visible in his literary productions, especially Ars Poetica. So that's all about Horace's Ars Poetica. It was a brief video. I don't want to be elaborate in a sense that will create boredom to you or that will make you tired and all. So go and visit my website www.highpoint.in and see yourself that what we have provided there, and have the 15% off going on there. And if you are interested after seeing all these things, you can obviously join for the course, and if you want to know more, you can obviously WhatsApp or call me in this given number. I'll be glad to provide with the details. And if you are also present in Instagram, you can also follow me there for having free materials and really simplified study cards, carousels, and many more fascinating facts about literature. There I'm sharing daily quizzes. Actually, in Instagram story you can lively attempt the quiz, and many more things are I'm sharing as reels and stories, as study cards, and many more things. So you can save and you can use them further when you are preparing for NET. So don't get delayed to start your studies by waiting for the next NTA UGC NET exam notification. Start studying today itself, and I'll be glad to help you in this regard. And if you have any questions and queries regarding Ars Poetica, don't hesitate to ask in the comment section. I'll be glad to know your suggestions too about the video. So, and also don't forget to mention your major takeaway from this video, because that will actually help the further students or future student to watch this video, while they can also get some idea about what this video is all about. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to it and press the bell icon too, so that you get a notification whenever I am uploading this video, any of the video in any of the series, because I don't want you to miss any of this video in, especially in these two series like cultural studies and literary theory and criticism, because these papers are crucial. I don't have to explain that to you. So that's all about it. Meet you in the next video session. Until then, keep going and happy learning. Bye bye.